I need to talk to you guys about the OneFootball app. See, the OneFootball app is the best football app there is out there, and I use it for a load of different reasons. It's great for transfer rumours, team news and starting 11s, which is actually really useful when I'm making these tactical videos. On top of that, you can now watch game highlights and even live matches, all on the OneFootball app. And believe it or not, it actually gets even better than that, because now you can do it all for free if you use the link in the description down below. So make sure to get in the description, press the link and download the OneFootball app right away. Trust me, you guys will not regret downloading this app. It really is great. So welcome back to the channel, and I just want to start with two disclaimers. This video is just going to be focusing on Manchester United alone, and also this is only part 1. There will be a part 2 looking at the problems out of possession, but in this video we're going to look at United's issues on the ball against Brighton. So as we would expect with the new manager, Manchester United regularly look to try and play their way out from the back, with a base of 5 players. However, Brighton done a brilliant job of quickly putting them under really intense pressure. We can see this intent from United here, and actually during the first 10 to 15 minutes or so, United actually had some success. However, soon after that, Brighton started really pressing them. Now, that obviously isn't at all surprising. Teams are going to press United this year, and the structure United used was okay. The issue was the personnel, because both De Gea and Fred struggled. Despite this, there were still occasions when United were able to get on the ball, and from here they looked to use a 2-3 shape. However, with Brighton defending quite narrow, the narrow United fullbacks became ineffective on the ball. Now, this narrow positioning from Dalot in particular is something that was effective throughout pre-season, but Brighton were just so narrow, and it meant that Dalot couldn't really get on the ball and affect the game. Now, in the past that may not have been a massive issue, however in this system Dalot has already become a very important player, and without him on the ball, it meant that United couldn't progress through the thirds. As a result of this, United became a little bit one-dimensional, and their only real way of progressing the ball came through Maguire, who to be fair done a pretty good job of switching the play out towards Marcus Rashford over on the left wing. Here we can see that Brighton were quite narrow, however this did give Maguire a bit of time on the ball, and more often than not his long passing was pretty good, and it finally gave United a way of moving the ball forward. And despite the criticism that I've seen online already, I thought that on the ball Maguire had a pretty good game with his longer passing. I'll discuss the defensive side in part 2, but on the ball I thought he was good. Now, the reason that Rashford was able to receive these long passes was because he was often holding the width for the team during the first half, and we also saw something similar with Sancho playing wide on the right hand side. Those of you that have watched the channel through the summer will know that this is something that I've been talking about a lot, and we did see signs of it during the first half, with Rashford really holding the width out on the left hand side. Personally, I thought that by doing this Rashford was one of United's most threatening players. His end product wasn't really there, but unlike the rest of the team, he seemed like he was keen to get the ball moving forward. Unfortunately, the same can't really be said for Sancho on the other side. It's not like he was bad on the ball, he just didn't get the ball anywhere near enough. He has played a key role in pre-season, but rarely showed that in this particular game. On a few occasions that he was able to get the ball, we saw glimpses of what we saw during pre-season, with Sancho getting the ball out wide before playing the ball in behind the defence, for someone like Scott McTominay to make the run onto. As I said there, this is something that we've seen in pre-season a lot, and when United done it, it worked well. But unfortunately, McTominay was the player receiving the ball, and he just really wasn't on it at all at any point. Now, I'm sure some fans will argue that there is never a game that McTominay is on it, but they're your words, not mine. Either way, McTominay was nowhere near as good as what he needed to be, and the moves ended with him losing it. As a result of this genuine lack of quality on the ball, United really struggled to progress the ball through the middle, and their only hope was when Eriksen dropped slightly deeper, before then playing long passes over the top for Bruno Fernandes. This dynamic up top was quite interesting. It clearly wasn't the ideal situation for Erik ten Hag's first game, but I thought they'd done okay, although the only real threat was from Eriksen's long passes. As I said, it was Bruno Fernandes that was often looking to get onto these balls, and he timed the run well, although apart from this little pattern, he actually had a really quiet game, and really didn't get involved. All of these problems combined led to an awful first half for Erik ten Hag's first game. It looked like everything from pre-season had gone out of the window, with Fred and McTominay in particular really struggling. Now, unsurprisingly, we saw changes at half-time, not in terms of personnel, but more in terms of the shape, as United desperately tried to get back into the game. So now let's take a look at the system that United used in the second half. I am just going to quickly interrupt because we do have another sponsor for today's video, and that is jerseyfifa.com, the website you need to head to right away to get yourself the latest and greatest football shirts, all at an extremely affordable price. The link will be in the description below, so head there right away to get yourself a great shirt, again at a great price. Now back to the video. So right from the start of the second half, we could see a slight change in shape, with Fred now dropping a little bit deeper with the centre backs, whilst McTominay moved deeper as well, creating what was now a 3-1 shape in possession in the centre. We can see this new shape here, and this combined with Brighton dropping a little bit deeper did mean that United were finally able to grow into the game and take control. However, there was still one major issue for the team, and that was the fact that Fred and McTominay were still at the heart of the midfield, and therefore the team. And as I was saying earlier on, neither of them were anywhere good enough, and it did cost United on the ball. Despite again lacking the quality through the centre, United were now at least able to push a few more players forward, and that came from the fullbacks, who were now looking to play much higher and importantly much wider. This is exactly what we can see here. If you remember, in the first half we were seeing the fullbacks struggling to get into the game, around the halfway line, but now they were carrying much more attacking threat. Now, as I said there, the performance of the two fullbacks was much improved in the second half, with Shaw in particular really pushing forward. However, he just seemed to lack any quality in and around the final third. Regardless of that, the movement from Shaw and Dalot was still important, because it now meant that the two wingers were able to move inside, and we started to see Rashford and Sancho both playing either in the half space or making runs in the channels. This is something that was happening almost immediately in the second half, with Rashford and Sancho suddenly getting more involved, and this switch meant that they were now carrying much more attacking threat. However, despite this, I still just thought that Sancho struggled to get into the game. I'm not sure if he was still struggling with his illness from the past week, but he wasn't at the races and really didn't do too much on the ball. Despite this, again, the movement alone was enough to have an impact, because it meant that the half spaces were now open, and this really benefited Eriksen, who was now able to drop deeper before then looking to try and create something for his teammates. In the first picture here, we can see Eriksen on almost the exact blade of grass that I was talking about, and it suited him much more, and he seemed far more comfortable looking to create from these sorts of areas. Actually, I thought he ended up being one of United's better players. Yes, he did still give the ball away too easily, but he did look like he was always trying to move the ball forward, and actually make something happen. Eventually that did kind of spread across to the rest of the team, but United was still quite one-dimensional, and their only real threat was crossing the ball into the box, especially now that Cristiano Ronaldo was there to aim for in the centre. Despite being too one-dimensional, this was still progress on what we saw during the first half, because United did at least create a few chances. However, I thought that more often than not, Brighton defended well. Just quickly on the Ronaldo situation, I don't really think there's too much to say. He's only played 45 minutes in pre-season, so he wasn't ready to play from the start, so just ignore the story the media will create. Instead, the focus should be on this Brighton team, and in particular Graham Potter. Now these days I am very much a Manchester United based channel, which is why I have focused on that side of things here. However, I'm sure someone else somewhere on YouTube will cover what Brighton done, because they were brilliant, and for a long time now I have been a big fan of Potter's work, and I think perhaps this could be the season that more people really notice him. But just going back to the United side of things, on the ball they were nowhere near good enough. I don't actually think the shape was too bad, but the players seemed to really lack in-game intelligence to adapt to what was happening to them on the pitch. And then on top of that, they just didn't have the quality on the ball. Yes, they created a few sort of half chances in the second half and got a goal from a scrappy set piece, but to me that seemed like that was more from luck than judgment because they were so poor. As a result, we all know that Brighton went on to win the game 2-1, and honestly that was the least that they deserved on the day. For United, they were poor on the ball. However, I still think we did see a couple of promising signs in terms of the shape. However, individually the players just weren't good enough on the ball, and also defensively actually. But if you want to hear more on that, on the defensive side of things, then keep an eye out for part 2 of this video, which will be out over the next couple of days. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.